Because normally I have to put a load of details in.
It says on my screen, the live icon comes up.
Mine's up there. Or is that on your? I'm not.
It says meeting is now streaming live on the custom live streaming service.
Oh, yes. Well, wow. Can tell I haven't done this for a while.
That's that's how long 3 weeks feels like, folks.
We're live. I'm about as good as this as we were in the first half.
That's a fair point. I think I didn't mean that in any.
Please do not make me choke on my beer whilst I'm drinking it.
Yeah.
I think I'll put that aside to avoid any coughs of any kind. Yes.
Yeah, I think I can summarise this season very easily, actually, because Cass, you made a very good point. I started off by saying I'm only going to drink when Wolves score, and now I drink before games.
Yes, I had my first one I think during the first half and during before the game started, and then this one I had throughout. But Foster's crafted to refresh, something to refresh the side in the summer, clearly. But I think first of all, heart goes out to Mr. Johnny Otto Castro after hearing the news. Of which I thought, no way, surely not.
Same leg, is it? I haven't heard.
It is, yeah. So it is officially the same. It is officially the same knee. So it was his left knee, which was screwed over in August, and it is the same knee that has been taken out within a training incident over the weekend. Reportedly, it was yesterday. He's seeing a specialist, I think, next week, but. No, it's the same knee. It's basically the same area of the body. I think very much makes it extremely difficult to take. But if there's anyone who can bounce back and is just made of steel, and the way in which Johnny was bouncing back was great. It is him. Although I have to say, with being the same knee, I think things could get a bit difficult and tricky down the line, which would be heartbreaking. But you never quite know with how football goes. But he's a fighter, and I'm sure he'll bounce back as time goes on.
Has it been said how bad it was?
Not sure. Probably several months again.
Yeah, apparently he needs some more surgery. Apparently.
Yeah, so he also need his along with the ACL. I think his MCL will need to also be surgery, have some surgery done on. So it's a slightly worse one by the sounds of it this time, which obviously is. Just desperate considering he was really getting back into the side, playing excellently, and he found his mojo again. And obviously, it kills
I really, well, you know, I've said on many occasions, for me, he's one of the biggest misses.
Yep.
He's not on the side.
And now that he's gone, and now that he's gone again, it's a real heartbreaker. But obviously, it means we're gonna have to go all out in the summer to really, really strengthen. The defense.
I think it's centrally we need more. I think at Nori, well, the trouble is Marcal is just not up to it either, isn't he? We do need some cover there. But I think
we'll probably buy. I would be surprised if we buy Rayan because of his potential and his possibility.
I do think his class. At that age, you know, you don't as a defender you need a few years to get behind you. I think he's showing everything you'd expect at that age.
Two good centre halves in the middle, and I think he suddenly looks a totally different player as well.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Well, centre halves, we need to give them a kick of the backside for the first half performance.
I don't think it is. I think Dendoncker as a midfielder, when you're playing 4 at the back, you're relying on your midfielders to cover the gaps, and he didn't cover the gap at all. Certainly for the second goal, Cody had to come across. That left the hole. Cody was left between a rock and a hard place there. You have to be faster to react there. It doesn't matter what level you're at. You've got to sniff out danger in that kind of midfield central role. He didn't. And we let Lingard walk through.
Yep.
And
two
the third,
goals two goals where we had similar players bursting through and they just got brought down.
yeah, exactly. That's the difference.
And I think it was Gary Neville. Was it the second goal? He said that's like 9-year-olds playing.
Yeah,
A big
absolutely.
clump of Wolves players, no one making a challenge. It was
doesn't matter. Just take it down.
Frankly, for me, in that half and in that first half, they should hand their wages back because that was not a half of football of a professional bunch of players because they were not. For me, they weren't taking that seriously. It looked like a practice game for them. And West Ham turned up for a competitive game. Wolves were just doing some more training.
Yeah.
Second half was different. Second half was different, but the first half.
Last 15. Last 15 was different, wasn't it? The last 15. And I do think that to me, you can't keep on making the same mistake, but we do, and that's what really does me in. There are players on there who you can see that they're in a team where they're having to do more than they should. I thought Neves had a good game again. He's like trying to gel that together as best he can.
You know my love of Neves.
Yeah.
But I thought in the first half he was appalling. And if we'd had the Neves of the second half in the first half, we'd have won.
I don't think he had the cover though. I've always said that with Neves you need somebody with legs, and Moutinho tries to do that. The trouble is he runs out of steam. He needs somebody with legs next to him to do the running. He's never going to win a foot race against anyone other than Ryan Bennett.
To be honest, I thought, as I said, that's what I was saying. In the second half, if we'd had the Neves of the second half, he was cutting everything out in the second half
because he didn't. It was more break play. I just, to me, you don't blame a player if it's down to their limitations that are causing the problem. It's whether. I mean, maybe Dendoncker just can't see that he's got to run back. He's got to sprint. And he just doesn't seem to run fast enough.
For me, the thing with me for Dendoncker is he's got all the attributes of a... Bless you, whoever that is.
No idea, that is.
He for me, and I don't, all I can see seems to have every sort of attribute to be a good midfielder, except for concentration. He doesn't look like a player who's fully concentrated. So when he kick, like he had the chance of that chance where it rolled out to him and he absolutely skied it over the bar when a side foot would have done. I didn't expect him to necessarily score there, but I don't expect it to go flying.
Flying into road double Z at the South Bank. Yes,
it might go hit a defender and stuff like that. There's a lot of people in the box, but for it to be that far over with that much time, a side foot would have been fine. But that's for me not concentrating fully. Obviously, he is concentrating, but for me, it looks like. I think earlier in the season when he was having those chances in front of goal. I mean, he took the header well today, but he's had chances like that before, and it looks like he stopped thinking just at the wrong time. And it's the same with some of the, when he gets past and then he has to sprint back because he's switched off for a second, just for a second. And it's almost like he's not concentrating for fully in the game. I don't know what it is. Perhaps he's a player who's affected by no crowds and he needs that
potentially, yes,
constantly, there to make him go, this isn't training, this is a game. But I don't know what it is, but that's what strikes me as, because he'll play like soft passes under hit passes to people, puts them in trouble. He's like runs in behind and then kind of goes, oh, what shall I do now? And then the moment's gone. And that was for the first goal. He's caught the guy up, and then
there's nothing.
It's done nothing. It's like, well, what do I do with him here? I mean,
indeed. I think first of all, just trying to give a quick match kind of reaction as I like to on these is first of all, credit where credit is due to West Ham for the way they've just been clinical. You can certainly see why they are in a Champions League race. They're in fact at the minute with them going back into fourth. They're now they're the best placed side in London at the minute, which is crazy.
I find it really hard to go with that because I genuinely thought I know it sounds ridiculous, and people always say that. I could have scored the first goal if the defense. If the defense did that in front of me, I think any of us could have scored it because they've just handed it them.
We did. Our defending for all 3 goals were utterly atrocious.
I don't buy that top team in London rubbish. I mean, it's the kind of thing.
Well, technically on the table, I'm saying on the table wise, they are now.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing commentators say to make a talking point because Chelsea and Arsenal aren't up there and Tottenham aren't up there. And the reality is it's been a very strange season.
It has. With both Leicester and West Ham now in the top 4,
well,
which was unexpected.
Leicester won the league a few years back. Surely they deserve a bit more credit than
than what many give them. Yeah.
The point is that we are clearly punching above or have punched above our weight. I think Bod hit it on the head there. If you can't approach a game like that and realise that, that's why it's £100 million sport, which means there's say 40 games a season, 2.5 million per game. If you can't twig that you've got to turn up for that, there's something seriously wrong with your motivation. Seriously wrong.
Yeah.
Almost to the point, like you said, we'll have your wages back. I mean, I don't think though that.
That's an old lazy sort of thing.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't think. What I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because I do think that a team game is about complementing and mitigating weaknesses, and that relies on people doing things more than other players sometimes. I mean, when we got the goal back through Traore, he was fouled 3 times in that attack. The last one he'd already crossed, so maybe knocked that one off, but that was probably the worst foul. I've seen games where he goes down on the first foul.
Yeah.
To be honest, he deserves a lot of credit for that because he literally carried that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I said. I mean, the whole commentary was they were creaming themselves over. Oh, Lingard's run through, but he wasn't challenged by anybody. Traore,
that was the problem.
Ran the entire. He pushed off the first man. He jumped over the second one, and then, as you say, he got the cross into the other. But he actually was. He was actually impeded and got through. That easily a better run. But sorry, and as you're saying, it's not.
Yeah, no, I think that's the point. That I think all you have to do, and how many times have we said this? You just need to vaguely turn up in the first half because we won't. Yeah. I mean, we've said it. How many times have we said it's the easiest game plan? Just go for it, guys, because they'll be asleep.
Yeah.
What's going wrong there?
I can't get it. And I can't, and I'm not going to say that's not the crowds either, because like I was saying, maybe it's the crowds, they're playing empty, but they were doing it when the crowds were in.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I mean, I came out of games like I've said before, 2019, thinking, why don't we play for half a game? Why don't we? And before that, it was why don't we turn on after 15 minutes? Why do we take 15 minutes to turn up? And
are they not as fit? I thought they're fairly well conditioned. I can't see them not being as fit.
You kind of wonder whether it's some weird pseudoscience thing where we'll build into the game. I mean, in which case, if you're 3 goals down, I mean, for God's sake,
it's a bit late, isn't
it? The training for that's really easy. You take them to a mountain, you put 50 kg on the back and say, right, you're 3 goals down now, up you go for 90 minutes, because that's what you've given away. I just don't get it. I just do.
Indeed. Obviously, being 3-0 down in 39 minutes is inexcusable. It is absolutely and utterly inexcusable.
When the fourth didn't go in, I mean, you kind of felt that there was no way back.
Indeed. And also
there are positives though in that game.
There are positives I was going to move on to, because even though we were 3-0 down and the defending was utterly. I think the defensive folks should certainly give at least half, if not all, of their wages for this week to charity or something else on the back of it. 67% possession, 20 shots, although 5 of them on target. 4 corners to their 2. But we came out in the second half and again played well, but obviously we just gave ourselves much too much too big of a mountain to climb. Good to see Leander though finally getting a header right. First time he's done that in quite a long time, but a very neat header. And then the finish, of course, from Fabio was why we bought him. It may have been only his third Premier League goal of the season, but credit where credit is due to the young man. Just let the terrific ball from Pedro, which he puts through. And then Fabio, even though it was at an angle, it was a case of one touch and he knew exactly what he was going to do with it. Right in the far corner. No one in the world would be able to get there and reach it. And it's just a very, very, very neat finish. And I think that is an illustration why we've spent so much on him. If we can show that calmness with his third goal, with his second goal obviously against the Albion back in January, and then this third one now, I think he'll come on strong. And it was such an excellent goal for the young man to score. And I think that's certainly one positive in which people have stated from tonight, and rightfully so.
It was a great finish. It was a great finish.
Fantastic finish.
Well, I do you know what I think I'm gonna look. I tried to watch his play a bit more because what the bit of pace that apparently he's lacking. I'm wondering whether that technique of the way, because he goes to sprint full on straight away. Now, if he shortens his stride, he gets away quicker. He doesn't need to be full pelt running very often. What he needs is that acceleration off the mark. Now, if I'm home, I don't know because I only thought about it when after I saw him just get to a ball late, and he didn't quite have the speed to get there. And I thought, well, I need to watch him. Is he going with a big long stride every time he starts his runs? And if he is doing that, someone needs just to simply coach him and say, you've got to now effectively learn how to run again differently. Very, very short, almost like a fast walk, as if you were skipping along the ground. And that will give him he won't need that pace, that full on pace. You can extend your stride if you need to run distance, but it would give him this is, again, it's just my opinion, but that would give him a little bit more acceleration off the mark just by shortening his stride down, and he'd get to more, I think. Because it's almost like he's trying to get into a full run like that from the start. But
the way he ran today was perfect.
Yeah, well, I know what I'm saying, but there was a few times where he's got caught just behind, not quite getting there in time, and I think it's because he's trying to get into a run, and I'm sure there are coaches out there and at the club who could do something about that. He's not going to ever get any more top speed, but that little bit of acceleration by amending how he just changes his stride pattern into being a lot shorter will probably benefit him loads, but I don't know.
I think you're making a point there about, let's face it, is he 19 though?
He's still 18, I think. I think he's still 18. Let me have a look. But
he doesn't. The point is, he's physically changing, isn't he? That's the point. And
he's still 18.
One thing you can see, he's got. You can see from the first games, unless you're an idiot, he's got a footballing brain. The guy is going to be quality. He's going to get knocked off the ball by somebody who's just 26, 23, 24. Because you can go to any park and you can see it every day of the week. You don't have to be a coach. You just have to know. I do karate. You just know that if you put your weight in the right place through experience and the fact you're physically heavier, you're going to win. It's just.
I do it all the time in five-a-side. It's all I've got.
Yeah, exactly. You just put your body in the right place. You just move the ball on the offside and ride the challenge. But he's got something which. I think it's so exciting. He looks for the ball. He really looks for it all the time. Yeah. He looks to do something with it. And when he, as you said, Cass, the finish, the keepers expect him to go near post. He must give him the eyes because the keeper's so sold near post. And you look in the keeper, he's like bugger. He's done it far post. He's done everything right there. Well, he comes back. I'm not going to knock Jose because I think he had actually quite a good game. I think he grew into the game more. he's had some time off, and I think that's fair enough. I think he did some good contribution, but you look at him now, and I think he's struggling to match Silva, to be honest. He's got the physical attributes, Jose. He can link up well. He's got a few more things, but I think Fabio is just clearly the better player. You just don't have to be a genius to spot it.
Yeah, and the fact as well, also, no, in the first half, in the first half, there was one moment in which Willian could have tried to take it onto his. I think it was first or second half. Actually, he should have taken it on his other foot, and he didn't. And then the ball got away from him. And I think that really shows that, yeah, Fabio's confidence and his strength and his knowledge of the game is just growing. Whilst William, who puts in a fair bit of effort,
I wouldn't knock William.
It just isn't there for him at the minute.
You can't. You can't blame a player for what they haven't got.
Exactly.
But he's got. He will score when you get the impression when Jose scores, he's going to score 2 or 3 more. He's clearly he's not as bad as everyone kind of goes. Oh, he's crap. What do we sign him? No, he's exactly the player we kind of signed, and is struggling to match this league. We all know players like that. One worry is Neto. When Jose, he managed to get around the defender, I thought, quite well to get the shot off, didn't score, bounced to Neto first half. Neto tries to take it on his left foot instead of just controlling it with his right. He controls it with his right. It's a goal every day.
Yeah.
And to me, that really grinds my gears, because
that's just a cushioned side foot, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you can't kick a ball with both feet, go and stand against a wall and do the old Bobby Robson, was it Bobby Cool? No, Bobby Moore thing, isn't it? Kick the ball all day with your left foot or right foot, as it may be, until you can do it. Because I know from experience you can do it. It just takes practice, and you don't practice because you don't think you have to. You think you're so good, you don't have to, and that really gets me. That really does. But but the positives were there, I think, in Jose and Fabio's performance. Jose growing into it more, but he's got to think he can score, because he's beginning to get that kind of drop of the head. I'm not going to score. He needs to knock that out of him. But
I thought he had a bit of a quiet game, Neto. To be honest.
Yeah, I thought he was okay after about 20 minutes, and but he doesn't exactly. He hasn't got that Fabio. I want the ball. I'm going to look for it.
No.
He's a bit too passive, but I just think we missed Bolly as well, didn't we, today?
Yeah, obviously Willie being out because of testing positive for coronavirus. Obviously, he can't do anything from that, and hopefully he's recover speedily. And
he hasn't got it. It's just because he's travelled.
No, apparently he tested positive.
Doesn't mean anything. He'll be fine.
Wolves confirmed he tested positive, but he'll be absolutely fine.
He'll be fine. Absolutely.
Good evening, Nathan.
Yes. Hello, Nathan. You are. There we are. You aren't that. You aren't.
That's all right. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Hey,
hello.
You doing? What do you reckon?
Don't know. Don't know. Part of me thinks that it is hard. It's hard, and I feel for them. I really do. I feel for Nuno, and I feel for. Look, I feel for the players as well. I think when you are with the news of Johnny being out, with the news of Moutinho and Bolly missing a couple of days before a game, it's tough, isn't it? And I think someone mentioned on the mix tonight, we played West Ham 10 months ago, beat them comfortably 2-0 at home, and with 6 players down from the team that won that night. So we're just seeing, I think, huge moments go against this team at the moment, and it's hurting us, isn't it? And then we're seeing massive individual errors every game. I mean, I just can't understand for the life of me why Dendoncker hasn't made that tackle for the first and taken the yellow. I can't understand why Neves hasn't done the same to Lingard for the second or the third. So it just, everything seems to be compounding at the moment to
Well, that's it. I mean, Wolves had a few chances, like Lingard's and what's his name,
Antonio.
Even if we then was injured,
but our players didn't get as far because they'd already been taken down, and that's the difference, really. For me, we've been too soft.
And what I would say in the first half is I don't think there was much between the teams. I thought we were actually pretty comfortable on the ball. But Dens looked good again. I don't know, chaps. I don't know.
Actually, that's an interesting one because I did. Someone did ask. I've noticed on the commentary thread about what does Podence bring to the team, and when he went off at half time, you saw what he brought. He links the attack together because going forward in the first half, I thought we were pretty good defensively. As I said earlier, I thought they didn't seem to get beyond what they thought was a practice match. But Podence, what he does bring to that attacking side is he seems to link all the attack up, and when it gets compact and tight and very defensive, he can get through that sort of congestion. Whereas in the second half, as much as we scored basically when it wasn't congested. So Adama running from deep, which was an awesome run, and then a reasonably long crossfield ball to Silva, where there was a bit of space. But the rest of the second half, everything was condensed. But we didn't have opponents really to
try and break us out of it.
Yeah, who gets into that, who thrives in those small spaces compared to the other players who need a bit more space to use their pace or whatever and stuff like that. And so in answer to the question to the person who says, what does Podence do? That is exactly what Podence does and was doing. Because we actually had quite a few chances with him. Sorry, Cash, go on.
No, just to also say no. And the two things that really sprang out is I think one of the crosses he put in was brilliant. One of the crosses he managed to get into the box on that right hand side in that first half. And in fact, again, he's I think the smallest player on the pitch, and he's able to get up and put a header just over the top of the bar. The fact that he has that ability to jump that high and to make a good connection. It's ability. It's ability. And obviously, just like as was the case with Johnny until obviously today's news and stuff, but he'll be integrated back into the team. It'll take a bit of time, but I think he'll get up to full speed, hopefully. Because
with Cuban heels, he might have just got up high enough to knock that down. But
indeed, indeed. But that's what Daniel brings to the side. I think people are surprised that people have moaned. Yes, it has been a quieter season from him, but remember, it took how long for Nuno to integrate Daniel into the side last season? Considering we only brought him in the winter. He's only been at Wolves less than 18 months. And obviously it's been quite a hectic 18 months on all fronts. So but I think he'll be able to grow into the side excellently, I think, as time goes on. And obviously back from a medium term injury, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that creativity with him being back will help.
Absolutely. So everyone, man of the match. Who is your Wolves man of the match?
None of the defenders for a start. Certainly not Dendoncker.
You know what? It's a tough one. I think just on the basis that he hasn't played much football, and I thought he worked really, really hard, and I don't think he was at fault for any of the goals. I thought Ainori actually did pretty well.
I thought, he did well. Go with that.
Yeah.
Considering the circumstances, particularly.
Yeah, but I mean, he'd get my vote. I think. Yeah, I think there was 5 or 6 really bad performances, and even then, we've matched West Ham pretty much all games. So, I still think we've got some small details to look at in the summer. I think we'll be fine next season. But if we stay up, of course, that are.
I will stay up.
We're 9 points clear. I'll be amazed. Well, of course, it'll become 6 points on Friday if Fulham beat us. So I don't even want to dare think about it.
I'm waiting for the famous implosion of a team that can't score that many goals and can't defend. But no, I think for me, Ainori probably just about gets it. Just.
Rich, are you going to say?
I might be lazy and disagree. I'm struggling to see anyone else really who. I think Troy was okay. I think he did okay, but Nori must have only had a day's notice. I'd kind of go with that, and I don't think he did a lot wrong. He was positive as well, which we need from our fullback. Yeah, I'll go with Nori. I think that's a good shout, like that.
Do you know? I think I will also agree, not just for the sake of being lazy, but actually as well. He was quite adventurous. Now I know that time we got forward and got the free kick on the edge of the area where obviously Neves and Neto tried to link up, just didn't quite work out. At least we were trying to be creative. But that kind of run is exactly what we need. That's him being Johnny. That's Aït-Nouri being Johnny, of him being able to find some space, use it, and then just go for it, because it was going to line himself and to no doubt whack one, of which I think could have flown in, but that kind of sign is quite good. I think again but I think I'll go with Aït-Nouri because of him, and obviously such short notice of him having to be drafted in, only recognised left back at the club essentially, who's able to play. And along with that, I also have to obviously shout out to Adama for what a beautiful assist for the first goal, and obviously as mentioned, Fabio very, very, very neatly taking the second goal, and also actually even Murray, because he had to pick the ball back in it 3 times. It again, he did his thing, and there was one big save in that first half where he managed to claw his hand clawed it onto the post and avoided it going in, which I think would have ended up, that would have been, could have opened the floodgates, the way in which West Ham just walked through us in that first 45. So honourable shout out to those, but I think Aït-Nouri, Rayan did well considering the circumstances. Bod?
Well, I'm not going for Aït-Nouri because I do feel that he tries to overplay it when he could just put a cross in. And he seemed to do an awful lot where the cross was on and then he had to check back and try and take it back and then lost it. So on that, he doesn't do it. He did play too badly, but that really bugged me a lot. There's players making runs into the middle that he's looked up and he's then decided not to cross, and then he's checked back and then he's done it, and then he's lost it. And that pissed me off, to be honest. So for that reason, I'm going for Traoré, because I thought whenever he got the ball, he looked to do something with it, but he didn't just keep blindly running. He also laid the ball off quite nicely at times. He won some aerial battles. He put a few balls through for people along the ground, not just crosses. And then he basically did a Maradona-esque run from his own half to set up the first goal, which, to be honest, he rode challenges and all sorts and jumped over other ones and got all the way there and then put an absolutely beautiful cross in. So I'm going with, and although some people I've noticed saying, he didn't do much in the second half, to be fair to him, when the ball did come to him, which was very, very rare in the second half, he didn't generally waste it either. So, and he did put a few more crosses in. So I'm going with Traoré for me, because I thought he actually, because in the first half he actually looked more like he wasn't trying to play a practice match, which I felt some of the other players were, and they got a complete rocket, I think, at half time, because Nuno looked very, very angry at one point.
And understandably so. As I know, just as a bit of banter, scoring 2 against West Ham isn't for everyone, Aston Villa, considering they only scored 1 back in February.
Well, the other mention I was going to have, which is a weird one, because probably because he's also my favourite player, but Neves from the second half. I said to these earlier that basically, if we had Neves from the second half in the first half, we'd have won that, because I genuinely thought he played a lot better in the second half. I mean, way, way, way better, to the point that if he'd played like that in the first half, he'd have been clear man of the match. But
I don't think it was that bad in the first half. I just don't buy that. I think he's like, you can't get him to do things. He's just not physically capable of doing it.
Yeah, it's true. But But for not making that challenge on Lingard, really, that was his mind. That was his undoing in the first half.
Yeah, that's where our defensive midfielders need to get stuck in. I mean, I understand why. No doubt, probably Dendoncker will probably have his boot fired. Himself rocket fired.
Did you see Neves' booking where he seemed to just tread on completely accidentally on Lingard's foot, and he got a booking for it. And you played it in replay, and you thought, God, that is either he's either the best actor in history to manage to foul somebody like that, or that's a complete accident. I know intent doesn't mean anything, but it did seem one of the softest bookings in history.
Maybe it was an accumulation of fouls.
He did get stuck in, and that actually did. There was a foul after he got his yellow card. I was thinking, oh no, surely this can't be a second yellow. But he does like to get stuck in. I don't know what number he's had a fair few yellows this season.
He has had a lot.
But at least he's shown his physical side.
Nathan, I have a question for you. Where do you think the goals came from for West Ham?
Where do I think? What's that, Richard? Sorry.
Where do you think the goals came from for West Ham? Where were we weak? What went wrong there?
So, I was on the infamous match day thread, which when we're losing it's negative, but when winning it's great, obviously. So there was a bit of criticism levelled at Nuno for the way he set the team up tonight, but I don't think the issue is. I think the issue is very rarely the formation in any team, like very rarely. And so, but you can't account for 3 goals being given due to individual contributors not executing what they're supposed to do. And I go back to, the first 5-10 minutes of the game. I actually thought we were the better side, and I thought we started more brightly. I know West Ham in the post, speculative effort from Antonio, and Rui made a save, but
we also had chances, but we had Jose's chance and things like that.
That was a frantic start to the game. It was good post.
Yeah, we had moments, and we saw a minute before their goal, Neto flicked it over Dawson's head, and Dawson took him out and said, "You ain't going into that space behind me." And I think, to answer your question, Richard, the first goal just killed our momentum on the back of the bad news from the players not starting this week and the bit of a hit they probably took before the game. I thought the first goal killed our momentum. I thought it was criminal that Dendoncker didn't just take the yellow. So he takes the first. I can't remember if was a Lingard. The Bowen one was the third, wasn't it?
Yeah, Bowen was the third, yeah.
Yeah, Neves probably takes the hit, but there's 5 players.
There's 5. Any one of those 5 players could be culpable for not taking the
anyone, stick a leg out, for goodness sake. Yes, just stick a leg out and go for it.
Just surround him, all 5 of you, and one of you kick, and they'll never work out who did it. So
the fact he comes on and continues to do what Antonio did, literally, obviously Antonio gets himself knocked, and then Bowen comes on to replace him, and we still can't sort that out. It's it makes me want to pull this hair. It makes me want to pull this hair out, even though I got this haircut in a few weeks.
The second was an interesting one, Rich, because I actually thought Semedo defended Lingard pretty well after he tried the little bit of skill. He was clearly going to win the ball, but nobody had tracked that second runner into the box. Nobody had got near him. It was like nobody. And I think that's probably Wolves' biggest issue at the moment. Nobody seems to anticipate danger at any point defensively. And so Masuaku is running into the box. He's got 15 yards of space. Cody, Dendoncker, Neves, they're all watching him. And nobody's got close to him. And ultimately, I know Fornal scored the goal, but Masuaku's a player that's impacted that move the most. And we just don't seem to anticipate.
Well, for me, that was Dendoncker had to cover that because Cody had to stay back. And as soon as he got pulled out, he had to make a call, didn't he, to go to the player driving in or cover the player who ultimately scored. But there should be somebody covering that run. Completely agree. To me, it's just, and it has been for a lot of this season, individual mistakes. I think you said it, didn't you? It's just individual mistakes.
Is that? Let me bounce them back at you then, Rich, because I think and this is a bit of a loaded question. I think you know where my view is already, the way the question gets asked. But, you know, defensively, like, do we have just a lack of defensive instinct playing midfielders at the back? Is there a real lack of defensive instinct there?
Absolutely. We I think there's two problems. One, I've thought for a long time, defense is a specialist position, and the other thing is you need pace. One of the big problems, I think, is if you haven't got any pace in that back line, or you're lacking, you have to play midfielders defensively as well to cover, to take the first kind of knock past. You can't rely on your defenders getting turned. You know, if the ball, anyone with remotely any pace plays the ball past Cody, game over. It's not because Cody's bad. It's just that he's just physically never going to run back. And there's a few players like that. And defensive instinct, absolutely agree.
We have a pacey centre half that our midfield can step 10
absolutely.
meters further up the pitch.
I think it completely changes our dynamic. And you see that when Bolly and Size push forward, you kind of know that we're a bit vulnerable to the break, but we're offensively a lot more dangerous once we do that. Once there's two, if we're playing a three, and whoever's on the right and whoever's on the left push up more, we're just much more attacking because we're 15 meters up the pitch straight away. And to me, it comes down to, we know Nuno's a very defensive coach, don't we? He's always, that's always his instinct. And when you're playing a four, you have to have your midfielder covering that gap as you talked about for the second goal. You know, there's an overload straight away if the midfielder isn't there. It's either the wide player, who would be Neto, who I think you probably said got wiped out, lost the ball. I can't remember where he was. Or it's Dendonka's got to drop in, one of the two. But Dendonka was near enough, and he didn't seem to pick up on the danger. And you've got to straight away be in position. You can't just think it's not my job, because it is your job until it just is your job. You know, you've got to get back. So I think your answer in answer to your question, we need defenders. I think I've thought for years we need defenders.
Absolutely. And that's what Tim Spears said a few months ago, that the intention over the summer is to go gun-ho in terms of at least one centre back in the summer. I certainly think actually maybe stick my neck out and say we need two if we're going to make that next step up.
I think we need to. I don't agree with a lot of people keep saying, oh, we need a midfield snotter, box to box. I don't think we do. I genuinely don't, because we've only, our midfield is only playing where it is because it has to make up for the shortcomings in defence. That's all they're there for.
Yeah,
well let's face it, we've got enough midfielders playing in defence to push them forward into midfield. So even if they're half good there, we've got enough cover there.
I think the biggest issue now, of course, is Johnny being out, so they're going to have to put a lot on left back, aren't they?
Indeed, and as obviously I think another left back. I don't think I'm not who know unless Marcel fully recovers and doesn't become a part of the injury. Doesn't become part of the injury furniture.
Saying that, I thought Semedo looked very good over on the left and Hoover on the right. To be fair,
yeah, it's possible.
It gives us options.
You can move.
Semedo to the left.
So, and I know he's young, as is Hoover. They're not gonna be able to. They're gonna have patches where they go off the boil, and they're gonna have patches where they look really good, because that's what all young players are like. So when one of them goes off the boil for a bit, you just bring the other one in and swap Semedo around. Semedo will work on either side for me. He is good enough to do that.
Yeah,
Semedo is a very underrated player by a lot of fans, I think. For me, I'd rather pump the money into central defence. Yeah. If you look at any team who wins the league, they've got a solid defence. They really, you build from there. And
the question is who could be on the market this summer is a question. That's the thing. Obviously, some will probably feel very mindful and objective and feel a bit down because of our big losses this season. But everybody's had big losses, by the way. It's not just us who's been in the red because of COVID. I think one or two clubs have hit 100 plus millions, and in fact we've only had I think less than £40 million loss. Where in fact it would have been it would have been about where it would have been, I think, a £30 million profit if it wasn't for COVID. Of course, Fosun have got the money. Yes, Fosun obviously took a dent with their, but there's every company in the world, every single firm surely in the world has seen massive financial hits, and I certainly think we will want to. It's obviously third year in the Premier League. I suppose it's a transition plus unique season because of the pandemic, where we still obviously have not seen. None of us fans have been able to see any single one Wolves game. Who knows whether that will be the case towards the end of next month or not, in terms of whether 10,000, about 8,000, we'll be able to have bums on seats. I think next season will be okay, and in the summer we will go out and hopefully, if we can start off and really strengthen from the back, I think we'll just go from strength to strength again. I think things will get back to it. And as I say, in terms of going from strength to strength, kudos to Wolves women, who were fourth tier side and obviously season null and voided again last month for second season in a row when they were going to be heading for promotion. Kudos to them for winning in the FA Cup yesterday. First time they're in the third round since 2015, and they beat third tier Nottingham Forest, so they got an upset on penalties. And they have Watford. Obviously, less said the better than our experience on the 7th of April 2019. But the women could do if Mr. McManara and his side and his side could go one better, that would be lovely this weekend. Best of luck to them. And also to obviously kudos Rebecca Walsh, the first appointed female referee in the EFL. Hopefully more to come.
Yeah, just to your point, Kashmir, in terms of the window and the funds that are going to be made available, I think we're really fortunate in that the Premier League has a very robust sort of financial model and revenue strategy, and so it's got a heap of recurring revenue for every team in the league. And so I don't think transfers are going to be massively impacted by COVID not coming into the Premier League. And actually, I think other clubs that don't have that revenue coming in from TV deals around other European leagues are probably going to be impacted heavier and may need to sell.
Oh yeah, have you seen France?
I was going to say it could well be a buyer's market.
It is. But what would concern me more is when you look at the team that Nuno started with in the Championship. I would argue our defensive, certainly our centre back pairing now is potentially. Don't say the word weaker, but potentially less able to defend. I mean, if you gave me an opportunity to put Bennett over Cody from a defensive perspective and said, who would you want defending?
You could be an MP with that. You could be an MP with that response.
I mean, what I'm basically saying is I take Bennett every day of the week. But I'm not sure I trust them to get the recruitment. I mean, they've tried Vallejo. Who else have they brought in? I'm sure they brought in another centre half to displace Bennett after that disaster pass against Braga. I think they lost total faith in him. But
I don't think we have actually. I don't think we've invested. I do think it's one where we tried Vallejo, but it just didn't work out.
No,
we tried a plethora of midfielders in there.
Yeah.
I mean.
Have we had any other defenders except Vallejo in terms of lone defenders?
No, I think you're right. I think it's just Vallejo.
Just Vallejo.
Kilman's come in. Sace now plays at the back. Dendonker's played at the back. But you're right. There isn't. Yeah, there isn't.
7 have played at left back this season.
So, I think I reckon there'll be some good value, like you say, in some of those European leagues where they're not quite flush with cash,
and particularly France, who saw their TV deal collapse this season so spectacularly, and they haven't. I don't think they've even still sorted next season's TV deal. There's a massive 4-year deal with Media Pro, whatever it is, France. That just like ITV Digital nearly 20 years ago, they they overpromised too much in terms of payment, and that all collapsed spectacularly back in February, and they still haven't figured out an alternative. So obviously, if we think us in England are bad, just look across the Channel Tunnel, and the French have got it in seriously bad ways, unless you're Paris Saint-Germain, who of course through the Qatari royal family will be okay.
Perhaps we'll unearth the next Ludo Polle. That'll be
potentially
for the new generation.
Just as long as it's not the next Leander Dendoncker bot. Bloody hell.
Someone who can be more effective in defensive midfield and at centre back, yes. Indeed. Anyway. But it will be interesting to see what we do in the summer and how quick actually we do things in the summer. And obviously, I think we need to stump at the cash. But obviously, Fosun has that lot of money, so I'm sure we'll be fine.
Next game,
Fulham, 8 p.m. on Friday. It is Friday. Woohoo!
Friday.
It is Friday evening, and then the one after that is on the weekend, I think. Or is it on the? When's the one after that? I'm trying to remember.
17th after that, Sheffield.
That's Sheffield United at home.
We've got two of our relegation rivals.
And you lose them in the relegation.
Blades. I've been at last couple of. For the last couple of years, I've been keeping track in terms of what stadiums there are on FIFA from an English team perspective. I can immediately put Bramall Lane back into my championship bracket for next season. Blades are gone. They could be relegated within the next 3 games. I've been doing the maths.
That doesn't matter. Huddersfield had gone, and we got absolutely trounced by them twice. So
yes.
Can't like that. But Fulham is the next game.
Fulham on Friday. We're 9 points clear of Fulham. Win this, we go 12 points clear with 7 to go, and that will put us basically home and dry. If they win, then we're 6 points away from them. So obviously it becomes a little bit more sticky. But as we showed, if we can play in the second half the way that we did, and obviously have the possession that we have, and actually you have chances where, say, 20 chances tonight or whatever it was, that's much more than many more chances we've had than in, say, our shocking patch within midway of the season. I'm sure it will come together, and no doubt Fabio's confidence will be boosted from his goal. Hopefully he can do it. Vitinha as well, I think, also didn't look too bad tonight. If we just go out going strong and want to press and try and try and play our game and do very well, I think we'll hopefully be able to do the job. And say knowing that they are still a few points off safety, obviously still puts them in a very sticky situation, quite frankly. What was the first game this season against Fulham? Let me have a look. What was that one? Trying to remember. 1-0 to I think it was a 1-0, wasn't it?
Yeah, we won.
Oh yes, back in October, Pedro Neto. It's when we and that one put us that one moved us into 13th place. That's it. It was 4th game of the season. That was the week after we got hammered by West Ham.
Halcyon days of being 13th. Huh?
We actually then, by the end of October, we then joined top of the league for an evening. So we joined top of the league by the end of the evening. So that's how things go in the Premier League. Friday could be. It's a tough one to judge. I think we've got the quality. We can win it, but Fulham are fighting for their lives.
Stop stalling, Cash. Stop stalling. Come on. Stop stalling.
I'll go 2-1 Wolves. It won't be easy, like anything never is, but Fabio will score again. His confidence will go through, and we'll pick up 3 points to ease any nerves.
Okay, Nathan.
I'm going. If Luckman's out, I think it'll be a fairly comfortable night. A fairly comfortable 2-0. If Luckman's playing, I think he makes Fulham tick, and I think we're going to be in trouble. I mean, I'm going to stall like Cash. I have no idea. Genuinely, I think if Nuno decides to go 4 at the back and Luckman's playing, I think we're going to be in a world of trouble because I actually think Fulham are pretty good going forward. They just can't seem to defend. I'm going to go Wolves 2-1.
Okay.
Just.
Richard.
I'm going to go 2-0 to us. I do think it comes down to whether we can get somehow Bolly back, or we can play, or we can shore up the defence. I do think this is probably a game where 3 at the back or 3 in midfield, with an attacking intent should see us through, but we can get bodies back when we need to. Because you're right, if we let them break, we're going to be in trouble if we play 4. If we haven't got legs to get back. But I think we've got enough to win. And there comes a point where you have to say, if you can't win, you deserve to go down, don't you? You've got to be honest.
Yep.
So we've got to say a win to Wolves, and I'm going to go 2-0.
I am going to go for a big 3-0 Willian Jose hat-trick game.
We just want to know what you're smoking, mate.
What's the odds on that? I would love to see what a requested bet is or a builder bet is from Cole. Please gamble responsibly, folks.
It will all finally click, and there'll be 3 breakaways, a ball across, and there'll be 3 headed goals by William Jones.
Yeah, but you're yeah.
What
would you sign him, by the way?
I will buy. I will buy. What's your favourite beer, Bod?
Bud Light. Funnily enough, most people go, "Oh, it's good." I don't care.
Well, I will buy. If that's the case, I will personally buy you. If it is 3-0 when it is a Jose hat trick, I will buy you 3 Bud Lights whenever we're able to go to the pub. So I'll put that offer on the table.
I mean, that's three fancy Bud Lights for me then.
Nathan, if you did score a hat trick, would you sign him?
Oh.
Was that to me, Richard?
Yeah, if he scored a hat trick against Fulham, would you
sign Jose?
I think it depends on how much it would be for.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't sign him with someone else's money. No, I mean, look, if I had 30 million quid in the bank and he said he's available for 20, I definitely wouldn't put it forward. No, I think he's. In all fairness to the bloke, I think he's coming at a terrible time when the team's lacking confidence. But he just looks like a really immobile player lacking massive confidence for me. He just doesn't look like he's. And is he going to play next season when Jimenez is back? I don't know. I just can't see it. I think if we lined up next season with Jose up front, because Jimenez isn't just hitting form or he's just not bounced back from his injury, I think we're in big trouble.
Yeah, maybe also maybe just as a wild card, bring Matt Rafamir, who's obviously found his feet with Huesca very nicely now this season.
I don't think
you've got to be realistic. Yeah, I think that's for one. And 2, what's the quality of the lower teams in the Spanish La Liga?
Very true.
I don't think it's Premier League, based on what I've seen from Jose. So, but I think I'd talk up Rafa Mir coming back because you'd want a bigger fee. I don't think he'd want to come back either. I think Pod's completely right. But you never know. If he did want to try again, I'd rather give him the chance than pay money for Jose every day of the week.
Probably at this rate, yes.
I think the result would be the same. I'll be honest.
Well, you never quite know.
I don't know.
You never know.
If he was available at 15, I would actually buy him.
For 15, though, I think there's more value in nearly any other league outside Italy, Germany. Well, I think
what kind of striker do you think we could get for £15 million in his better quality and he would actually score?
I think for a 23-year-old, I think you definitely get more quality. How much was Bowen?
Maybe.
How much was
Bowen?
the guy Villa? How's the guy Villa?
Oh, they're both. Watkins.
Yeah.
Oh, he was about 30 something, wasn't he?
From Brentford.
I'll do a quick Google.
Same here. It was 20. For Ollie Watkins, he was £28 million, which could rise to 33. Which I know Exeter City are going to getting a fair bit from it. And that being Jared Bowen, where did he came from? Hull City, didn't he?
We were looking at him apparently, weren't we?
Yes, we were during last season, and obviously that was when Hull went down. I think they signed for 18 million, with up to 7 million in potential add-ons. So take it 25.
Well, no, you take it to 18 because it's like Jose, isn't it? If you're getting the add-ons, you don't care about the price.
Yeah, indeed. He scored 7 in 32 in all games.
Yeah,
So
but he's
7 goals
dangerous.
and 30.
He's much more dangerous.
But as you said, with the goal, it was very nicely taken, even if obviously our defending was rubbish. So,
Yeah.
but what other kind of striker could we have?
There is a caveat to my buying him for 15 million as well, is that you'd have to play a different game with him as the forward. You'd have to use Traore and Neto or Podence as actual wingers, putting balls into the box regularly, not, and it'd be a bit more direct because and then he spent because he and not expect him to run back to the halfway line to link up play like Jimenez will. You know, if you play like that, then no, he's not worth buying. But if you change if you change the style of play for certain games with him, yeah, I would, because I think he probably.
I think you've just answered your question then, because to play that game, we need the defenders first.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think you've answered your question there.
Yeah. But then that is the reason the defenders are the most important signings we make, because if we're having to buy other players to suit this one way of playing, because we've got such shortcomings in defence. Fix the defence, we've then got a bigger pool of players to actually pick from for the rest of the team. So
indeed. I think that's
and on that wonderful bit of wisdom from my
and on that bombshell, as one former Top Gear presenter would say.
Yeah, we'll leave it there, and we'll be back on Friday. And if you wish to join us, you're very welcome.
Good to see you, Nathan.
Yeah, nice to meet you, chaps.
Nice to meet you. Hope you can join.
Anyone else watching, if you want to join in, you're all very welcome anytime. So the links will be posted up as normal, and we'll see you on Friday night. Then,
see you Friday night.
Thank you all.
Have a good one. Stay safe. Cheers.
Bye-bye.